We are in Acts 3:11 through 15, continuing with the story. Now, as the lame man who was healed held on to Peter and John, all the people ran together to them in the porch. This is Solomon's porch, or Solomon's colonnade. It's outside of the temple building itself. It could hold 3,000 people. We know that. Since he could not walk, it wasn't for support. Since he could walk, it wasn't for support. Perhaps he held on to them out of gratitude. He's the first people that gave me really something that I couldn't get anywhere else. Perhaps it was a combined sense of fear and surprise since the crowd gathered around him. They had ignored him. So when Peter saw it, he responded to the people. And Peter wisely takes advantage of a gathered crowd. You get a crowd, Peter's going to preach. Yet he knew that the phenomenon of this miraculous brought no one to Jesus. It merely aroused their interest. All of these miracle services that go on, is it just arousing interest? Is it, if I can say it, a sideshow? Though they were greatly amazed, they weren't saved. Men of Israel, why do you marvel at this? Or why do you look so intently at us as though by our power or godliness we had made this man walk? Peter denies that he's a healer. And the power is not from him. The God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the God of our fathers. Again, he goes back to the Old Testament. By opening with this reference to God, Peter made it clear. God spoke to Israel. I'm using the Hebrew Scriptures. Glorified his servant Jesus. The greatness of Peter's sermon was that it was all about Jesus. It wasn't about himself. The focus on the sermon was not on Peter. It was and what he had done. It was not on the healing. It's going to be about Jesus, for whom you delivered up and denied in the presence of Pilate when he was determined to let him go. Peter boldly set the guilt of Jesus' death squarely where it belongs. Pilate, the Roman governor, was determined to let him go. John 18:29 through 19:16. The Jewish mob, the people that are watching this man that's now walking. This does not mean that the Jewish people of the day alone were responsible for his death. The Romans, the Gentiles, are all responsible for his death. We, if we are sinners, which we are responsible for his death. Romans could have not crucified Jesus without the pressure of the Jews. The Jews could not have crucified Jesus without the Romans' acceptance. And God made certain that both the Jews and the Gentiles shared the guilt of Jesus' death. In fact, it was not a political intrigue or circumstances that put Jesus on the cross. It was sin, our sin. And if you want to know who put Jesus on the cross, go in and look in the mirror. Our sin did this. We're going to pick this up.